the loudest silence. The loudest silence. That's what I've labelled my experience at the monastery the other week. So I went to a Buddhist monastery 2 weeks ago. That's what I'm going to talk about today, is my experience there. I've had a lot of questions, people showing interest and saying that it's something that they would be interested in doing themselves if I could share my experience. So 2 weeks ago, I went to a Buddhist monastery called the Wat Pa Tam Wua Forest Monastery in Northern Thailand. I was staying in Pai. It was about an hour and a half bus ride, or maybe like an hour 20 bus ride from Pai. And it's close to the border. It's about 10 kilometers from the border of Myanmar, which is a whole nother country. So yeah, I honestly didn't know where I was. I didn't check the map until I got back. So I actually didn't know where I was until I was back. But I was there for 5 nights, and I just want to share a bit about kind of like a day-to-day, or what a day in the life looks like at the monastery, some of the learnings I took away, and just my experience, because I did the whole thing silent. So I arrived on Monday. You pay 150 baht, which is like $7 New Zealand, to ride from the Pai bus station to the forest monastery. I was the only person on the bus on the way there, so dolo rides. I was a bit of an emotional one because I found out about the monastery a week beforehand, and I'd been looking for something like this. Like, I was on my mum on the phone. I was on the phone to my mum on the Sunday, and I was saying to her, I want to do some kind of silence while I'm here. I want to get out away from the city and get out in nature and into the bush or something like that, where there's not many people around. Literally the next Monday. Actually, I want to tell you how this came about first. First of all, we're going to rewind, because the book I'm reading right now is called The Celestine Prophecy, and it talks about 9 insights. I'm not going to go into it, but the first insight is that there's no coincidences in life. There's no accidents. Everything happens for a divine purpose, a divine reason. And I always believe that anyway. But a lot of the time, we can't see how pieces of the puzzle are connecting until we look back on it later. And when I look back, I went to this elephant retreat or elephant sanctuary when I was in Chiang Mai when I first got there, on my 4th day there. But I wanted to go on the Thursday. So I went to go book, but the Thursday was fully booked out. So I was like, okay, I'll look for the Friday. So I booked for the Friday for 8 a.m. That didn't, and then it was all sussed. And then they messaged me later and they were like, actually, the 8 a.m. one doesn't have enough numbers. Do you want to go at 10 a.m.? So I was like, yeah, I'll go at 10 a.m. And then so I got on the bus at 10 a.m. We went around to the hotels and picked people up. And we picked up this guy called Vasco. And he sat next to me and we ended up talking. He's from Peru. And we started talking, and he told me about how good Pai was. And so I was like, oh shit, I've heard a lot of good things about Pai already. Hearing him say that was like extra confirmation. So when I got back to the hostel that night, I booked my trip to go to Pai. And then I'm in Pai for like 2 weeks. I'm talking to my mum on one of the Sundays, telling her how I want to do the silence and I want to get out in nature and stuff like that. And then the very next day, this dude comes to the hostel and he's staying there. And I never met him before, obviously. He's American. And there's this one scenario where I felt like just chilling by myself. I didn't really feel like talking. So I was going to go straight to my room as I got into the hostel. But as I got in there, I saw, the lounge looks free. So I'm just going to go chill in the lounge because there'll be no one there that I have to socialize with, just because I wasn't in that kind of mood. And then so I got around the corner. And as I got around the corner, I realized that the dude from America that I just spoke about, he was in there having dinner or whatever. But it was too late for me to turn back and go to the room. Like I'd already motioned that I was going to go sit on the couch. I was like, fuck it, I'll just commit to sitting on the couch. Sat on the couch, sat down, got to talking, and this dude told me he just finished at the Wat Pa Tam Wua Forest Monastery, and he told me all about it. Pretty much what I want to tell you now, he told me first. So I realized everything added up. I was meant to go on that 10 o'clock trip to the elephant sanctuary. I wasn't meant to be on the 8 o'clock bus because I wouldn't have met Vasco. Vasco wouldn't have told me about Pai. I wouldn't have gone to Pai. And then I was meant to walk towards the couch because I thought the lounge was empty. I was meant to walk that way. Even though I didn't feel like socializing, I was meant to socialize in that moment because the bro told me about the monastery. And then I went. So I was just telling my mum the night before that I wanted to do some silence and I wanted to get out into the bush. And that's exactly what this dude had just shared with me. So the following Monday, I went out there. The bus took an hour and a half. And yeah, I was a little bit nervous, but I had a bit of an emotional ride on the way there because I've just been reflecting on my journey and how everything in my life has led me to where I am right now, and traveling, and how I had a different idea for how I wanted my life to go, but your plan is not always God's plan. So just trusting in the plan that was set out for me on my journey, and knowing that my journey looks unique in its own way. So I just felt excited and happy for myself on this next step of my journey. And yeah, I arrived and I was straight into it. No mucking around. I registered at the start that I'm going to kind of mention all these things in case people want to do it themselves. The one I went to was donation based, so you don't have to pay. You actually could pay nothing if you wanted to, but usually, I paid my donation on the last day as I was leaving. They have some envelopes at the front desk, so I got me a little envelope, made a little dono, and then so when you arrive, you really just need to give them your passport, fill out the registration form, blah blah blah. I was straight into it. You have to wear white clothes that cover your knees and your shoulders, so if you have those yourself you can wear those, but otherwise they will provide them. So the lady showed me where to go. I went and got my clothes, went and dropped my bag in the room. She gave me some bedding, and I'll put some clips in here so you can see, but if you're watching the video version, but the bed is just wooden, just pretty much wood, and you just put down this little mattress topper, sleep on there, bang, put my stuff in the room. I went straight to the Dharma hall, which is where they do the meditation and stuff like that, and I was straight into it. There was obviously already a class going because this was at about 9:30 a.m. at this point, and at the monastery you start your day early, so just because of the timing of the bus. Another information is the bus leaves from the Pai bus stop at 7 and 11 a.m. every day, and like I said, it's 150 baht, so there's that. I got there straight into meditation, and yeah, I'll tell you about how a day in the life looks, and then I'll share my experience. So you usually wake up somewhere in the 5s. On the schedule there's a 5 o'clock meditation, but that one is just led by yourself. You can just do that in your room or down by the pond. Some mornings I'd wake up and just go sit down by the pond and sit, and it was beautiful. Like, I'll put some clips in here, but just the scenery and where we were out far away from any kind of society or people, buildings, everything, just out in the forest. So it was beautiful up in Northern Thailand. And yeah, so you do that from 5 till 6. You do your own lead. Fuck, there's hella bugs on me, bro. I got hella itchy bites and shit. But yeah, you do your own lead meditation in the morning. No one's going to enforce it. And also, a lot of people, I would wake up sometimes at like 5:40 in my room, and the whole room is still asleep. In my dorm there was max 7 people at a time, and minimum there was like 3 others in there at the time. Funny story, actually no, I'll tell you that then. But yeah, so 5 till 6 you do your own meditation, and then at 6:30, so the way that monks receive things and receive food is they don't go out and buy it for themselves. I'm pretty sure this is all of them, but they receive an offering, so you have to offer them food. So every day at 6:30, this was be our first like real commitment, was in the dining hall. There'll be all these bowls of fucking these flies, boy. It's teaching me to be zen. Yeah. All these bowls of rice, and everyone will go grab a bowl of rice, and then you'd sit in one line. All like males would be in this part, in the first part, and then females would be lined up around in the spare spaces, and you'd go with your bowl of rice. There'll be about 6 or 7 monks that all come around and stop at each person individually, and you'll grab some rice out of your bowl and you'll put it in the monk's bowl and give them an offering. So you're offering them their breakfast, their rice, and we'll do that. That'll probably take like 10-15 minutes max. And then after that you'd keep your bowl, and then it's our time to eat. So at 6:30 we'd have breakfast, 6:40 we'd have breakfast, and all the food was vegan, and we only ate twice a day, and nothing after 11:30 p.m. because the next time to eat was at 11. So we'll do that. We'll go have breakfast, vegan food, and then say that finishes at 7:10. Then you just chill until, I'll just wait for this motorbike to go by, and then yeah, you just chill. Sometimes I'll just sit at the dining table and relax, and then our first proper meditation is at 8 a.m. And so you'll do 3 meditation sessions a day. They usually go for about 1:40 to 2 hours. The first hour of the meditation session is walking meditation. So what you'll do is the monks will lead the way, and you'll go in single file, and you'll walk so slow. We'll probably walk like 400-500 meters, and it took us an hour, and you're just taking one singular step, and you're going single file at a time, and you're doing walking meditation, trying to focus on your breath. The type of meditation that they teach or that we learn while we're there is Vipassana, which is about awareness, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember. I should have wrote down some definitions so I could tell you this shit, but you can also just Google it, whatever. But yeah, Vipassana meditation. And yeah, we'll do that. And so the way that they kind of the cues they give you for your breathing is boo, do, but you're saying this inside. So BHU for boo, and then DHO for do. So I'd always go with my right step, I'd say boo, and then my left foot, I'd say do. So boo, do, even when I'm breathing. And I'll kind of just mimic those words in my mind. No one's saying it aloud, but do that for an hour, head back to the hall, and then you'd sit, you'd sit in seated meditation for about 45 minutes or so. And then the last 10 to 15 minutes will be laying down meditation. And then that'll be your first session done. That'll be finished at, what time? 8 till 10 that will be. So hour walking, 45 minutes sitting, 10, 15 minutes laying down meditation. The whole time you're just doing the Buddha, you're just in your own, in between all those little things. So when you finish walking and then transitioning into the seated meditation, the monk might be giving you some direction or something to talk about. But other than that, it's all pretty much you and your own thoughts and your own mind, and just becoming aware of your body and the surroundings, all your senses, trying to like you're in a bird's eye view looking down on yourself and bringing awareness to your breath and stuff like that. Finish at 10, and then the next thing was at 10:30, which was the offering for lunch. So similar thing, except the monks will sit on the stage this time with their bowls, and everyone, or the males would all be on. Oh no, actually the women would be down at the start, and they'd be giving the plates of food. There's heaps of different types of food: fruit, rice, noodles, veggies, heaps of stuff. Chocolate milk some days, or like almond milk or whatever. And then whoever's sitting in front of the monk will be the one giving that to them. So we'd all pass the plates down one by one, and so I'll give it to the person next to me, then he'll pass it on, and if you happen to be the person right in front of the monk, then you'll hand him the bowl. He'll take however much he wants and put it in his bowl, and then bowl, and then after that the head monk will talk for a little bit, and then it'll be time for us to go and get our lunch, and he'll say a little blessing, and then we'll go have our lunch. And something, I don't even know if I added this at the start, but it's optional if you want to be silent, and I chose to be silent for the whole 5 days. So throughout all of this, I am not speaking a single word. I didn't speak a single word from when I got there on Monday. There's an information evening on the first day at 4 p.m. So I went to that, I spoke to the lady, and that was my last time speaking until Saturday morning. So yeah, that was interesting, not speaking. But the reason I brought this up is because in the dining hall, they have some tables that are labeled silent tables. So you know that if you don't want to speak, and that people that are sitting at those tables are going to be silent, so you can sit at those, would eat, and then it's a big break. The next one, say you finish eating at 11, the next commitment isn't until 12:50, and then 12:50 you'll go back to the Dharma hall, and you'll do the exact same thing as the morning meditation. You'd walk for an hour, you'd sit for 45 in seated meditation, and you would do the laying down for 10-15 minutes. You do all that, they'd finish at about 1 till 3. 3 till 4 is chill time. 4 o'clock till 5 o'clock is clean up the monastery time. So you might find a rake, you might find a broom, you might do whatever, just any kind of task just to clean up the area, clean up the monastery. I usually just, while I was there, the caretaker was mowing the lawns, but it had no catcher, so there'll be heaps of people out there raking up the grass and putting it into trailers and taking it out the back into the compost or whatever. So I'd usually do that. It's 4 till 5, 5 till 6 is chill time, and then, or free time. I usually showered in this time, because after cleaning, that'll be my one shower a day. After cleaning, I'll be sweaty and dirty and stuff like that. Always in barefoot too, and doing that out on the grass, raking, I was getting pretty dirty at the end of that 5 o'clock session. So, and then 6 o'clock we'd do chanting. So a little bit different from the regular meditation sessions, but this is a form of meditation itself. Is they would have chanting books. So we would chant in 3 languages: Pali, which is like an Indian language where the Buddha first lived or whatever in India or some shit, and then Thai and English. So you'd chant all these different verses. There was, the most common one was about loving kindness that would chant and stuff like that. So we'll chant for maybe 45 minutes, and then we'll do seated meditation for 15 minutes, and then we'll chant for another half an hour, and then that was the day done. So that would finish at 7:30. 7:30 you'll be done. It'll be dark by this time. People can choose to go to the dining hall and read, or heaps of people were journaling. The way I chose to do it though, I'll share more about my personal experience now. So that's a day in the life. That starts at 5 and goes all the way until 7:30 when your day ends. But I'll share about my personal experience. So a bit about my personal experience there. I wanted to fully commit to having no stimulus or no stimulation or no distractions, and it was obviously very hard doing it in complete silence, and I didn't want to distract my mind with being on a device, just like how we are pretty much every day, you know, reading, journaling, snacking, talking. I don't want to distract my mind by doing all these things. So I pretty much was just very observant, chilling. Anytime there was spare time, I was either having a nap or I was staring into space, looking at the mountains or looking at other people or just observing, just sitting there and being quiet. I was also very tired because if you think about it, since I've had a phone, I don't know if I've ever had more than 5 days off my phone. Since I got a phone when I was 10 years old, so 16 years of having a phone, I don't know if I've ever spent 5+ days fully off it. So our minds are always wired for distraction, always wired to be stimulated by something, watching TV, watching YouTube, TikTok, Reels. And so because my mind didn't have all these extra distractions, I was so tired. Anytime I had some spare time, I'd go to the room and have a nap, even if it was half an hour. In the meditation, you're not supposed to fall asleep, but I just couldn't help it. Like my mind was just so slowed down from not being distracted all the time that I just fell asleep heaps. So I napped so many times. I don't know if there was a meditation session that I didn't fall asleep in because I was just so, just slowing down finally after all these years of like my nervous system just took a great break. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, of just slowing down, being bored. We don't really allow ourselves to be bored most days. Anytime we feel bored, we might pick up our phone or play an instrument or read a book or talk to someone, but it's actually really necessary to be quiet and just to go inside. And that's the reason I called this the loudest silence. I called this the loudest silence on my last night. I did my first lot of journaling. I didn't obviously do this all week. Like I said, I didn't want to be distracted, but I wanted to write about my experience on my very last night, so I did that. And in the top of my journal, that's what I labeled it as, was the loudest silence. And I just wrote down all the things that I learned about myself, because going inside, you're forced to be with your thoughts and your mind and stuff like that. So I wrote down 5 main things that I learned. So I'll share those, and hopefully I haven't really missed anything important, but 5 main learnings. The first one was to be bold and express what's on my mind. And this came through physically because I had a really tight jaw. I realized after slowing down and not being distracted that I always bite down on my back teeth. I always clench my jaw, and it just makes me feel a lot of tension in my mouth. It makes me feel a lot of tension in my mouth. And the little message I got behind this was that I've shared about this heaps online before. It's something from my childhood, growing up with older siblings and stuff like that. I always felt like my words never had any weight. I never felt like no one really cared what I had to say. So I kept a lot of things internal and didn't express my mind. Not even just as a kid, growing up as well. Even in relationships and being in team environments, being afraid to express what's on my mind to coaches and stuff like that. So that's the message I got through having a sore jaw and having a tense jaw all the time, especially this left side or my left side. I'm always biting down on my jaw, so it just taught me to slow down. And it also reminded me, I had this childhood regression a few years ago, and the lady that did it for me, Tegan, she said to me during it, she said, I can see you, I had a visualization of you, and I can see you using your voice for great things. Wait for this motorbike to go past. She said, I had this visualization, and in the visualization you were standing on a stage and you were talking, and I could see you using your voice for good things, and like podcasts and doing public speaking and stuff like that. And I've always felt like that's part of my calling, and that's why I love doing my podcast, because I think that my voice is a gift of mine. So it was just a reminder for that, to be bold, use my voice, use my gift, speak up whenever something's on my mind. And that was the very first thing that came through, because after all the distractions had gone, I could finally focus on my body and my presence, and I found that my jaw was very tight. The other one was I was very easily irritated and frustrated, and I was judging people often. And if you know me, I talk about projections a lot, that if you're judging someone, usually you're judging yourself, and that person is just the mirror reflecting back what you feel like you're lacking in yourself. So I was very judgmental, but not in a judgmental in a valid way, but also it taught me about understanding and acceptance and accepting people as they are and for exactly who they are, because I was frustrated by things that people were doing or weren't doing. For example, during cleanup time, there would be some people that were bullshitting. Like there were people in my room that would just lay in the room the whole time everyone else is cleaning up and doing the sweeping and stuff. And that was getting to me. That was pissing me off, because I was like, bro, why these people aren't doing shit? And I was very, very easily irritated and frustrated, because my mind was just all over the place from being silent and just being stuck with my thoughts all day. And I was just thinking, like my learning out of it, the thing I wrote in my diary actually was focus on yourself. Worry about myself. What is someone else what is someone else's doings or not doings? How does that affect me really? Because it doesn't actually, what they were doing didn't affect my experience unless I allowed it to, which I did at times, until I came to this conclusion that everyone has different values, different standards, different upbringings, different ways of life. Everyone there is all, I don't know if you can hear that baby crying, but like everyone's had different ways of being raised, and just like there were people piling their plates up and being what I thought was greedy until I started doing the same too. So I was judging them for something that I ended up doing as well, like during food time. But what I realized is that maybe these people just do that in their country. Maybe that's just the way they operate. So it just helped me to accept and understand that people are, to meet people where they are, you know. Don't try to change people, just accept them for who they are and accept yourself as you are. So that was that. The other one was my physical body. My hips and my ankles were so tight sitting on the ground doing meditation. First day I sat on the ground and did meditation, and the rest of the time, the remaining 4 days, I sat on a chair because they have chairs there if you don't want to sit on the ground. So my knees and my hips were just so tight. And the learning from this is, on a surface kind of level or on a physical level, I realized since I stopped playing basketball, I've really neglected my mobility, yoga, stretching, fascia release, all that kind of stuff. So it was a reminder to get back into that and to start taking better care of my physical health. And then also the body keeps a score, and I always remember that trauma is stored in the hips. So it was just a reminder of what is it that I'm not facing? What is it from my childhood or my upbringing, my teenage years? What is the trauma? Not even a whole like dramatic way of saying I've been traumatized and stuff like that, but just using trauma as an umbrella word, you know, anything that falls under that. Anything that falls under something that I could be sweeping under the rug or not facing head on, you know, you got to feel it to heal it. So what is it that I'm not feeling? And because my hips I've always had problems, not even problems, I don't want to put that energy out there, but I've always just had tight hips playing basketball. And yeah, it was just a reminder that, okay, I can't sit still for an hour and meditate. What is it that I'm neglecting that could potentially help with this in my hips? So the body keeps a score, you know, wherever you feel tension, like the jaw thing, you know, that's a real thing. That's telling me something about my mind, my being. So there was that. What was the other one? Hold on, I've got it written down somewhere. Be bold. Worry about yourself. I've got some shit on this book. Hold on. Take better care of physical health. Be here. Oh yeah, the other one. I really found it hard to be present during the meditation. I really found it hard to be in this moment. And, you know, they say, worry about this moment. There's nothing in the future. There's nothing in the past that needs your attention right now. Just be here. And I really struggled with that. It was so hard. They call it the monkey mind, you know, your distracted mind. It's always thinking of something to do. And my thing was, I was always thinking about, hold on, I'm going to restart this. They call it the monkey mind, you know, your mind's always wondering, always thinking about other things. And I found that my monkey mind was always thinking about the future. I've always had a really good imagination and being good with visualization. But I found that I was always thinking about, always visualizing how I want my future to be. And it was like so hard to stay present. I really struggled. Every meditation they'd always say to stay in this moment for 3 breaths, 5 breaths, 7 breaths, 100 breaths, and 1,000 breaths. And I was like, 1,000? Bro, I'm getting to 5 max and my mind is already elsewhere. And what it taught me is that I approach life sometimes, or a lot of the time, with a mindset of lack, that I'm lacking something, or that the present moment is lacking something. Because everything that I visualize and want for my future, I actually already have it now, or I've had it before, you know, like I have it already in the present moment. I always wanted to play sport at a high level growing up. I did that. I always wanted to travel. I'm doing that. I wanted money for my travels. I have money. I wanted great friends and family and loving people, and I have that. I've had great relationships and everything. So it's like everything that I visualize for my future, sponsorship, everything, I already have that. And I already have that in the present moment. So when I approach the present moment with lack and that I'm lacking something, then you put that energy out there, and then the universe reciprocates that, and it gives me more reason to think that I'm lacking something. Whereas really, if I look at my life in the present moment it is very abundant. I'm very abundant in this present moment. And that was just the mindset shift that I took away from struggling to stay present in those meditations, was that I'm always visualizing and imagining my ideal future, when really that future is right now, because there was once a time when I visualized my life to look exactly how it does now. So just changing that little switch up, that's really helped me, is to approach life with an abundance mindset, because I am very abundant. I have everything I've ever wanted and needed in this moment right now, and I don't lack anything that I don't need. So yeah, everything that I want I get, and anything that I don't get, God didn't want that for me anyway. So that's a quote that I love, and a quote that I live by. And the last one, it was a bit of a random one, but I love love. I've only been in 2 serious relationships, but I just love love. And I had this thought of, will I ever find love? Will I ever find true love in life? Because maybe a week before I went into the monastery, I was saying to my mum, or my dad actually, I can't remember, but I was saying how I think maybe part of my journey was just to be a great uncle. Maybe I was just put here to do solo adventures and be by myself and be a cool uncle and stuff like that. Like when I was a teenager, I always wanted to have kids when I was 26, 25, and I'm 26 now, and I'm very far away from having kids. Like I'm very far. I don't even want a partner right now, because I just enjoy doing my own thing in life. But I do love love. I'm a lover boy when I'm in love, and I just had this thought, will I ever find love? And then this quote that I heard ages ago literally just came straight to the top of my mind while I was in a meditation, and it said, love finds you when you love yourself. And it's like, it was perfect for me to remember that in that moment, because I realized in my past relationships and in my past like talking situations or times where I've been talking to people, even recently I was talking to someone in the last couple of months, and I neglected parts of myself or my values to keep a connection going, in a way. Not even in a bad way, not that these people did anything wrong in their eyes, but there's just some certain boundaries and things that I hold myself to, and these things weren't reciprocated. And I didn't express this, so these people didn't know at the time. These people didn't know that these were things. But it's a reminder that once I love myself enough to set clear, intentional boundaries, and to love myself fully, and to not compromise my values and my morals, to keep love going, then I'll find love. And it always all starts with myself. Once I love myself enough to not put up with the bullshit or put up with things that don't align with me, then I'll find love. And that was my cool reminder that I got out of it, is that love finds you when you love yourself, and when you love yourself and value yourself enough to know what you stand for and stuff like that, and you don't compromise that for someone else. So yeah, those are my 5 main learnings that I wrote down in my book. But yeah, the silence was so hard. It was so testing. It was so challenging to be in amongst that. And I really loved it. I made some great connections in there. It was funny, I'll tell you a little story. On the bus, on the way back, I hadn't met any New Zealanders my whole time being in, I hadn't met any New Zealanders my whole time traveling. And then I'd still been silent until my last morning. And then I made some cool friends, actually. I made some really cool friends on the last morning. But I got on the bus to leave, and there was another dude on the bus that had been silent all week as well. I hadn't even heard his voice. And he looked like he could be from somewhere in Europe. And we got on the bus and we start talking, and I'm talking, and then he goes, bro, are you from New Zealand? And I was like, yeah. What about you? Where are you from? And he's like, bro, I'm born and raised in Auckland, and I used to live a bit further north from Auckland. And he was from New Zealand too. And I was like, bro, this is the first New Zealander I've met. He was in my room at the monastery, in my dorm, room 30, all week. And obviously we were both silent, so we never got to hear each other speak. And he's from Auckland, I'm from Wellington. And it's crazy how these connections come about. We ended up hanging out, me, him, 3 girls and another dude. When we got back to Pai, we all went and got a feed, and we walked around for a couple of hours, and we just chilled out. Actually, while we were there, we were standing outside the 7-Eleven, and I'm talking to the dude. We're both talking, and then this other dude comes up to me and he goes, bro, are you from New Zealand? And I was like, yeah, bro, I'm from New Zealand. And he's like, yeah, I follow you on Instagram. I've seen all your videos of you running in Wellington and doing all your stuff around Wellington. So I hadn't met any New Zealanders. In the space of an hour, I met 2 New Zealanders. So it was pretty cool. First person I met overseas that said they watch my shit, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so that was my experience from the monastery. I actually socialized more since I left the monastery in about 4 days than I did the whole 3 weeks prior to going there, because I just made some great connections. And even though you're silent, I made some great connections, because even though you're silent, you still feel connected to these people, because everyone's there for similar reasons and similar, they want to, not to imply that we've lost ourselves, but they want to find ourselves. they want to find themselves, and I want to find myself and learn more about myself. And as you can see, I came away with 5 great points that can help with my evolution of my spirit and of my soul. So 5 nights. I initially intended to go for 10, and then I changed it to 7 while I was there. And then I realized on my 4th day, I was like, actually, I feel like I'm just trying to get to 7 or 10 just to say that I went to 7 or 10. Because the dude that I met at the hostel, he told me he went for 10. So that was like, it was a bit of an ego way for me. I wanted to try and match him and get to how many he did. And then I just wanted to get to 7 just to say I did 7. But after 4 days, I was like, I got a lot out of this. And I came here with intention. I wrote down an intention the night before on my journal for why I was going. And I feel like I fulfilled that intention, and I learned a little bit more about Mans. So yeah, that's all I really got to share for now. It's going to be a long episode, but yeah, I just wanted to share my experience at the monastery. Hopefully there's not some things I'll missed, otherwise I'll do another short video just to wrap up. But if you've got any questions about it, actually drop some questions down in the comments below, and I'll touch on those when I can. But yeah, much love to everyone that showed some care and some interest. You know me, I love to just share my story and my journey for my own reasonings, just for my own documentation of my journey. And so if anyone ever shows interest or love, that's all just extra bonus. So I appreciate everyone that showed some love. That was a nice little bonus. And yeah, shout out to Yarns with Mans. We're back, and I'll share some more thoughts about my travels coming soon. So yeah, much love, peace and love, family.